There's a secret power system in One Punch Man that not enough people know about, and it explains everything. It's why a guy with a metal bat was able to rival someone like Awakened Monster Garo, even if it was just for a few seconds. It's why Fubuki could actually surpass her sister Tatsumaki at some point, and why a single change could make King more powerful than Saitama and Blast combined. Here's how it works. The world of One Punch Man can pretty much be explained by a single question. What if Western comic book heroes were in Japan, and instead of fighting villains, they fought kaiju? It explores a mix of the super mundane and the really extreme for both of these themes. The kaiju thing happens really frequently, to the point where they've had to create what are essentially private militias of heroes. And that's because, of course, the government has much better things to do than save the people and actually do something to combat the crisis. Monsters can owe their power to any manner of absolute madness, like being an alien conqueror from beyond the stars, to whatever backstory makes you into a hot dog monster. Heroes, meanwhile, are super tame by comparison. They're almost all human, and their powers tend to fall into a few common categories. Martial artists refine their techniques and follow certain fighting styles to be most effective in combat. Bang is a perfect example. Next, there's Espers. They've got telekinetic powers. Someone like Fubuki. Weapon wielders are really good with a specific sort of combat tool, so folks like Atomic Samurai. There are geniuses who, with the power of superintelligence, make use of something really scientific or technological. Child Emperor. Really strong guys are next. These people hone their physical strength to greater levels. They hit things. Not exactly martial artists, but they're all about the strength of their body. Tank Top Master is one. Cyborgs are next. Humans who have augmented or replaced portions of their own bodies with technology. Obviously Genos. Then you've got helpful monsters. Zombie Man. There might technically be another unaccounted for possibility, but you'll have to check out our Blast video after this one to really understand what that means. But yeah, those are basically all the ways a hero can have powers or special abilities in One Punch Man, which is much simpler than a lot of the origins and sources of power that you typically see from other superhero stories. But there's actually another layer below all of this, one that connects each of the classifications and somehow justifies the powers of each and every character in the entire story without fail. And the name of the game is willpower. It's nowhere near as complicated as something like Nen from Hunter x Hunter, and is more like a less obvious version of Haki from One Piece. The characters that most directly mention this stuff are older people like Bang and Master Nichiren. Thanks to the robotic augmentations he received after the Monster Association arc, Master Nichiren is effectively a cyborg samurai, a person that now belongs to two general categories of power. And by applying the principles of one to the other, he has revealed the overlap between them. According to him, by channeling one's chi, whether it be a sword or robotic legs, any weapon can become a perfect part of a person's body. And the thing about chi is that although martial artists and swordsmen especially dedicate themselves to harnessing its power, it is not exclusive to them. Chi is a universal connecting power that is in everything from living creatures to inanimate objects. And in the world of One Punch Man, the impact of chi on something's physical being and its sensitivity towards any sort of external stimuli is extreme. The first monster that Saitama ever defeated, Crablante, was a man that turned into a monster after eating too much crab. So this guy ate so much of the same thing that his body morphed into something similar. Tongue Stretcher was a dude who really loved reptiles. Now, when I first heard this guy's backstory, I thought he might have just really loved this pet lizard or something. But apparently, this guy's a really weird pervert, so I don't think we're talking about a pet animal here. But yeah, whatever stuff he's into turned him into the physical representation of it. Because chi can be in inanimate objects, we have weird cases like personification of a light pull cord. This was a monster that Saitama killed early on into his hero days, and it has one of the most literal names possible. Apparently, a guy became a monster after a lot of shadowboxing against the pull cord of his ceiling fan. This is really silly, but thanks to our understanding of chi, it's able to make sense. So yeah, in the world of One Punch Man, anything can spring to life. I mean, just look at Piggy Bankon. It looks just like a piggy bank Saitama has in his apartment. Piggy banks are mass-produced items, so sharing a design just further supports the idea that the monster was once just a regular object. We don't know the specifics of Piggy Bankon's tragic backstory, but my best guess is that the former owner was terrible at saving money. So, almost immediately after being given some cash, the piggy bank was opened up and stolen from. And at some point, it just couldn't take it anymore. Either that, or it watched countless of its own kind be smashed open for money and went berserk. But the effects of chi aren't only noticeable in monsters. Just think about Super Alloy Darkshine. At a certain point, this guy's durability was believed to be the greatest of all heroes. His hulking frame granted him immense strength and near invincibility. With just a light touch, this man could easily kill a monster as strong as the Deep Sea King. But Darkshine's power totally depended on his own confidence. If he's not the biggest guy in the gym, he doesn't know what to do with himself and becomes a total coward. Garo had destroyed the guy's fighting spirit. From there, he was just a big pile of muscles and nothing else. Pure Ugly was such a horrendously hideous person that society shunned him at every turn. This filled him with hatred and turned him ugly on the inside too. Animals can also undergo these sorts of changes. Nyan was originally just a regular house cat, one who had an especially affectionate owner. But even as a cat, Nyan was pretty messed up. He was always really cruel and a total sadist. At the time, he would torture small pests like rats, forcing them to die in utter agony. When he monsterized, Nyan became an intelligent monster that relished in the same horrible behavior. Pure Ugly and Nyan were two members of the Monster Association, and two of its strongest forces at that. Despite the power of monster cells turning people into mysterious beings, you'll notice that there are very few creatures at the top who have been changed like this. And there is a very good reason for that. As effective as monster cells may be, they also restrict the growth potential of anyone who consumes them. They gain a sudden power boost, but from there, they will never get any stronger than that. And that's because of where these things come from. Monster King Orochi. That's right, these are Monster King Orochi's balls. By consuming one of these things, a person forgoes their own will for the sake of being empowered by Orochis. But at the end of the day, a person will never be able to achieve their true potential when their will is not their own. The strength of a person's will is generally a good indicator of their capabilities. Many of the monster executives were very assured of their own strength and had strong personalities. But I suppose someone like Homeless Emperor is a bit different from the others, even though he didn't eat a monster cell. Homeless Emperor didn't really have any powers of his own and lacked an especially powerful will. But what he did have was the will of God. God granted Homeless Emperor enough power to turn him into a disaster-level dragon enemy. That alone should be a mighty testament to just how powerful this mysterious entity is. Being able to provide power to others is impressive enough, but for the increase to be this monumental is really something special. And funny enough, there is one character that was empowered by both Monster King Orochi and God. Psychos fused with Orochi, then received power from God. This made her ridiculously destructive. Espers are really interesting in the sense that they can readily extend the dominance of their chi. Doing so allows them to manipulate and move things with the sheer will of their minds. Tatsumaki is as strong as she is because she doesn't know any other way to be. After being told to be strong and rely on no one by blast as a child, she has lived by those words. Tatsumaki's resolve and self-assuredness have granted her immense power. Her younger sister Fubuki, on the other hand, awakened her own Esper abilities to defend herself from her sister. But these days, all she seems to want is her sister's acceptance. Honestly, Tatsumaki could be right about the Blizzard group holding Fubuki back. Seeing Tatsumaki is always above her is what will keep Blizzard away from the top. If Tatsumaki can shift from seeking coexistence with her sister to wanting to surpass her, there could eventually be an upset. Most of the S-Class heroes seem to be very self-interested. They each have their own agendas and usually do their own thing. But willpower is a bit like a muscle. It needs to be tested and even depleted to make it stronger. And that's what fighting the Monster Association was able to do for some of our strongest characters. The ninja hero Flashy Flash was able to become stronger after fighting Platinum S and putting aside his pride. Garo was obsessed with becoming the strongest monster in the world. He wanted to strike fear in the hearts of all humans. But really, he just wanted the power to stop bullying. So as he grew stronger, his forms became more monstrous. Yet he was able to stay human on the inside. In the beginning of most of his fights, Garo struggles and looks like he's going to lose. But it's his willpower that usually turns things around. It's very common for Garo to be outnumbered and outmatched, but that just activates his trap card. The possibility of getting jumped is enough to trigger Garo's trauma from childhood bullying. His will ends up being challenged by the very thing he wants to destroy most. Garo's convictions are much stronger than the materialistic will of Tank Top Master and the vain will of Darkshine. Platinum S was very powerful, but he was also the fusion of about 54 trillion monsters. Hence, Garo was the one to kill him. Against Saitama, Garo's will was tested, and he became stronger. But despite Saitama being much stronger than him, it's not like he was bullying Garo. After all, the Hero Hunter was the one who attacked the hero first. But how does all of this apply to Saitama? Well, the answer to that is simple. He's simple. The training Saitama did to become a hero is normal strength training for everyone else. He thought that was all he needed to do to become strong. So, it was all he needed to do to become strong. I know that might sound ridiculous, but the whole series is kind of ridiculous. He could survive on the moon because he was only worried about holding his breath, which he didn't need to do the next time he went to space since he was totally focused on crushing Garo. He can bathe in lava because he only saw it as a hot spring. Monsters like Rover and Yan are harmless because they're just a dog and a cat to him. Early in his hero career, Saitama experienced a lot of pain in the field, but none of it was from being hit by monsters. Really, it was just a toothache. Although he calls it a hobby, Saitama completely dedicated himself to becoming a hero. In fact, he was saving the world while being unemployed for 3 years. And Saitama is a true hero like Moomin Rider. Being one is synonymous with his will. He's so good at it that he's simple to mediocre in almost all other aspects of life, which is why he gets so serious when heroes are insulted. But there's still a lot to be learned about his true power. So here's a video with all 27 reactions to Saitama's true power. As always, I'm Celestial Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.